Good afternoon. I would like to thank all of you. I would like to thank all participants, but also the organizers, because I have been teaching in a faculty, a medical faculty, and I had the great opportunity in my life to meet an engineer, and this is how we decided that we would team. It is a privilege for me today to be here and tell you about Jokko Santé, which is a real story. It's a story, and there's a whole background behind it. So this is something I would call an economy based on solidarity. Jokko Santé, once upon a time, there was a young engineer working in the telecommunication area who met a wonderful African princess, a beautiful princess. They got married. Unfortunately, they didn't have many children. And they had to, they had this little boy, thanks to fertilization in vitro, and of course they needed more space in their house. And after having this little boy, well, they wanted to have more space in the house, but the whole space was completely flooded with different boxes of drugs, and for all people who wanted to benefit from assisted reproduction, in vitro fertilization. So they were confronted to the terrible problem of not having enough space, but they had to get rid of some of these drugs they just couldn't use anymore. So this is why they decided to set up a concept which is very deeply rooted in the philosophy of our country in Senegal. That means that you give to others and you receive from others. And this economy based on the giving and sharing, receiving and sharing, and on solidarity started developing. And one day, I was going to the mosque close to the beach, and I met this young man. So we started having a chat, and he told me, "Are you going to buy this fish?" "No, you're not going to buy it." So we were both at the marketplace close to the mosque, and I bought the fish. And he started talking to me about his project, and I found this was tremendously exciting, and I thought he was a brilliant project. And I told him that we could team, we could start working together. And you see here this face of this old surgeon who is now retired. It's me. And I started this adventure with this young man. It was quite an adventure. And I think that really it was the right moment and the right time for this project. Why? Because drugs, well, is a great expense for most of people in urban environments. Only 20% of inhabitants in Senegal are covered by health insurance, and 52% of expenses are due to drugs. In the rural environment, things are even worse because it's only 15% of the overall expenses. That means that people don't spend a lot of money on drugs. They don't have drugs they need, but there are also many drugs which are now being unused, and therefore they stay in boxes for some time. Sometimes you throw them away in the toilets or in the garbage. This means that we have a dramatic situation. We have to manage. It's very difficult to manage the situation because you can't get these drugs back when you throw away some of these drugs. This can be a threat for the environment. But also, and most of all, I think that this is also, from a financial point of view, a real disaster. So what can we do when we're confronted to such a dramatic waste? This is how Jokko Santé came up. It's very simple. This is how it works. People who subscribe to Jokko Santé and who have drugs they have not used are families who are also subscribers. They have recipes, and they have not bought the drug, so they will leave the drug at a specific collecting place or location. That means that we control that the drugs which are deposited there are really the drugs which have been prescribed by the doctor or the GP. This is the first step. The second step is as follows. These drugs can be recycled and redistributed to other people at these collecting points or checkpoints, either to pharmacies downtown or in rural areas. And the patients will receive these drugs, and the distributors are those who collect drugs at these different collecting points. Now, I would like to insist on two basic principles. Jokko Santé is not recycling pills or tablets or what we call small bottles or boxes which have already been used, because we can't control everything. We have to make sure that we can secure the quality of the drugs which are going to be recycled and redistributed. So this is how Jokko Santé works. This is a pharmacy. This is what it would look like. This is a village. This is what it would look like at regional scale and at national scale. This little tool kit, which is a medical tool kit or medical kit, is a small box. And this is what it looks like. It can either be for your own use, for the village, for the region, or for the country. Now, very many companies and firms in Senegal are proposing drugs for malaria. So what do? They could either inject the drug, or they could either spend the money in other things, or with a system like this, which supervises the whole loop, you can really control what is going to be done with the drugs. The drugs are not going to be sold to a third party. They're not going to be spoiled. They're going to be recycled. And you have very many people who live outside Senegal who are sick. For instance, a woman who is sick, who has a high blood rate. Well, if she needs a drug, well, then you can provide her with the drug and the treatment and with a specific prescription, medical prescription. So this is the story of Jokko Health, and this is the future for us in Africa. I believe that the dreams of our children should not be spoiled or abandoned. I think that we need realistic projects which are really rooted into our culture. Let's dream with new symbols. Let's have new dreams, and let's have new projects which can be universal. Jokko Santé today brings this to us. It brings not only dreams, but something that can be fulfilled. Something that will help us to reassure young children and widowers who cannot afford buying drugs. We have very many subscribers, and Adamo will tell you more about this. We are very optimistic. We still have more proposals coming in with new partners. We have been awarded prizes, but we feel so happy because now the dream is coming true. A team had this dream, but as long as we have this dream, we will be able to up to our challenges, but we should not dream on our own. We have to dream all together. And the day where we'll dream all together, when the dream will be our dream, it will really become reality. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Abdulaziz Kaf. You are a storyteller, a wonderful storyteller, and we're so happy to have you here in the Pierre Fabre Foundation and for this wonderful story. But it's not only a story, because it's reality today. And I have some questions, but Adama is maybe going to add something to this. Yes, I would like you to come back to Earth. I'm sorry about that, but you have to come back to Earth. And what about the financial balance? How many subscribers you have? What about your staff? What is your budget? Are you earning money or not? Well, thank you very much for asking all these questions. Well, in February, a year and 3 months now, we launched a new community, the project in a small village of 700 inhabitants. So we started with a small village, and then we wanted to extend this at regional level. So today we have 1,000 subscribers. That means that we have very many members and subscribers. Sometimes you have one subscriber per family or per couple. But what is important for us is also the business aspect. Of course, we have a social firm. It's a social project, but we need money. That's true. We want this to be a sustainable project. This is why we have to rely on some of our partners. And this is why we are no longer in the experimental stage of the project. For the experimental stage, it was 20,000 euros that we've got so as to develop the project. There is a French subsidiary which is committed to the product and which was committed. And in 2015, we've got a subsidy of 20,000 euros. We've also got batches of products and drugs. Each time a company in research and development is interested in the project, well, we ask them to give us 5% of the funds they have for research and development, and then they can become affiliates of the project. Okay, well, that makes things easier to understand. So let's imagine that I'm going to bring back the drugs that I don't use, and I'm going to get a kind of bonus that will enable me to have a rebate on other drugs. Let's imagine that I'm outside my country and I have someone in my family who's sick in Senegal. I can transfer money. I can have a money transfer performed so as to allow that person to buy the drugs. So you can have bonuses, either if you pay with a card, a credit card, either if you buy that with money. And you can send the bonus to your family. So you can be the one who's paying for the drug, but you send the bonus to the friends or your family, and they can use the bonuses in these health centers. So this is the second possibility. Let's imagine that I'm outside of the country, or even if I live in the country, I can pay with my credit card and get some bonuses and give these bonuses to someone else. Let's imagine that I'm a company and I want to help my employees. I want to have them benefit from an extensive health insurance. So I can buy bonuses and give them the bonuses so as to help them. If I understood well, you have companies who are starting to buy these bonuses? Yes, answer. In 2015, we have Solid Pharma, which is a pharmaceutical company, which started working with her. And Bolloré and Orange also are part of this. That means that they get the bonuses, they buy the bonuses, and they can send it to the employees. We also have the BNP, the French bank, which has subsidiaries in Senegal. So they do that for their employees. So we have 6 companies which are really involved in the process. Now, Professor Kaz, you are a doctor, and you've been a trainer and a professor. I would like to ask you, don't you think that this is something completely new and that you are really pushing aside the taboos that we have, because people today agree on this new concept of an economy which is based on solidarity. But this is rather new. That means that people want to spend less money and they want to reuse and recycle most of the goods they have. But this was not the case with drugs, because drugs are considered as being different, and therefore people were very reluctant to do that. Do you think this is new? It's a new set of mind? Answer. No, I don't think so. I think that it is a new set of mind, but this is really in line with what we have been doing before. That is to say, men and women can help other men and women to feel better. They're really involved in this curing process. That means that it is a kind of loop where everybody will be involved at some point or another. This means that we're going to bring back people who had been excluded from this loop. And I think that this is what we're really doing. Another question now. How do the pharmaceutical industries and laboratories react? Because that means less business for them. Answer. Well, with the pilot project, we have a pharmacy which is member of the project and has subscribed, because they know that if they get bonuses, they will also give the possibility to the patients who come to buy a drug to use the bonus, buy drugs that they usually wouldn't buy. So pharmacies are also involved in the loop, and we feel very happy about this. So we've signed an agreement with two pharmaceutical sectors, and this has been a real improvement for them. They have increased their revenues because they were able to meet the demands and the needs of some of the users, some of the customers. Some people don't even go to health centers anymore because they know they don't have the money to pay for the drug. So if they get the bonuses, if there is a real incentivization, then they will buy the drug. Professor Kess, would you like to comment on this? If I was an industrial working in the pharmaceutical sector, I would feel very happy when I see this kind of projects coming up, because when a patient wants to buy a drug and he doesn't have the means for that and he can't get a treatment, what is he going to do? He's going to go and look for other drugs which can be inappropriate. And let's imagine that when we collect these drugs and we recycle them, we're not going to recycle drugs which are inappropriate and which are low-graded drugs. And therefore, what happens? It goes without saying that we have the good drug in a box which is secure and that we comply with the safety requirements. That means that you're securing the loop and the whole system.